With me, I have Ian Mtegha, who's the Professional Manager at the IRBA Standards Division. He's here to share with us how the 4 rules came about to being prescribed, what they require from us, and when essentially they become effective. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you so much for having me, Naledi.
To start off my conversation with you, please share some background insights on how these 4 rules came about to being prescribed.
Thank you so much. So, in essence, what happened was when the International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, the IRBA, issued the final pronouncements on the quality management standards in December 2020, we, as a local regulator, followed our due process in adopting those particular standards. Then our Committee for Auditing Standards, which falls under the IRBA, reflected on the content of the standards, particularly ISQM 1 and ISQM 2, and then therein lay some requirements or paragraphs within the application material of ISQM, of the quality management standards, that indicated that the local regulator may prescribe laws, regulations, or ethical requirements to supplement the requirements that are sitting in the quality management standards. So then the Committee for Auditing Standards set up a consultative working group that went and had a look at all those particular application paragraphs that made reference the possibility of the local regulator or local jurisdiction putting forward their relevant laws, regulations, and ethical requirements to supplement or complement the requirements that are sitting in the quality management standards. And that's how then the Committee for Auditing Standards put out into the marketplace in June 2022 an exposures draft with 4 rules arising from the quality management standards, which has now been finalized as which initially was 5 rules arising from the quality management standards, which has now been finalized as the 4 rules, with 1 rule being put on the abeyance or on hold. That particular rule pertains to which engagements and engagement quality review should be performed on.
Now that you've shared some background information, please share with us what are these 4 rules and what do they require from us?
Thank you so much. So in essence, the IRBA's 4 rules arising from the quality management standards arise from or are pursuant to Section 10 of the Auditing Profession Act. So the IRBA is issuing these rules in terms of Section 10. What are these particular rules? The first one pertains to the ultimate responsibility and accountability for the system of quality management. The second one is about transparency reports and who should be preparing these particular transparency reports. The third one is around the engagement quality reviewer as well as the assistant to the engagement quality reviewer. And then the last rule pertains to the assembly and retention of audit documentation. If I could then go back to the first one around the ultimate responsibility and accountability for the system of quality management, ISQM 1 in paragraph 20 therein states that the firm shall assign ultimate responsibility and accountability for the system of quality management to the firm's chief executive officer or the firm's managing partner or equivalent, or if appropriate, the firm's managing board of partners or equivalent. That's the requirement that sits in ISQM 1. What we've done is we've gone and added a sentence to that particular requirement for our purposes of our rule. What does the sentence say? The sentence says the individual or individuals that are assigned ultimate responsibility and accountability for the system of quality management in terms of paragraph 20 of ISQM 1 shall be registered auditors. That's in essence to ensure that those particular individuals fall under the domain or the jurisdiction of the IRBA as the regulator. Then I move on to the second rule, around transparency report. Rule 2 transparency report states as follows: firms as defined in the Auditing Profession Act as amended that have registered as an auditor with the IRBA that audit financial statements of publicly traded entities shall prepare and publish transparency reports on an annual basis. So in essence, where does that come from? That comes from the requirement that sits in ISQM 1 are requiring the auditor to have communication with external parties or external stakeholders. And in ISQM 1, it gives transparency report as a tool that the auditor can use to communicate with their external stakeholders. What we've gone a step ahead and said, in relation to publicly traded entities, which is defined in our IRBA code and includes listed entities, where the auditor is auditing the financial statements of a publicly traded entity or has audited the financial statements of publicly traded entities, we are requiring that particular auditor to then prepare on an annual basis a transparency report. So that will then be a mandatory requirement for this particular auditors or audit firms that audit the publicly traded entities. Then our third rule pertains to the engagement reviewer as well as the assistant to the engagement reviewer. Again, this is in addition to the requirements that are sitting in ISQM 1 as well as in ISQM 2, particularly ISQM 2 in respect of the engagement quality reviewer. What are we saying? We're saying the engagement quality reviewer must be registered with the IRBA as a registered auditor or be in possession of an RA designation from another country. Further, we are saying that an assistant to an engagement quality reviewer must have as a minimum 3 years of relevant expertise. Then the last rule pertains to the assembly and retention of audit documentation. Before I conclude, let me just go back to Rule 3, the engagement quality reviewer and assistant to the engagement quality reviewer. That particular rule, what we've said in the publication of the rule is that this rule does not extend to pre-issuance reviews, the equivalent of an engagement quality review as prescribed by the Auditor General of South Africa through the Public Audit Act. Right, then I go on to the fourth rule, which is the assembly and retention of audit documentation. Let me rather discuss why this has been brought forth. This has been brought forth because currently within the international auditing standards, the application material recommend this particular aspects, and what we've then gone is we've gone and made it mandatory or made it a requirement. And in all of these particular rules that we've issued, the 4 rules now, the first 3, the one around the ultimate responsibility for the system of quality management, transparency reports, as well as the engagement reviewer and the assistant to the engagement quality reviewer, are effective for audits of financial statements for period beginning on or after 15 December 2025. Early adoption is permitted. And then the last rule around the assembly and retention of audit documentation is effective for audits of financial statements for periods beginning on or after 15 December 2024, i.e. at the end of this year. And that particular rule, the last one, again, early adoption is permitted. So those are our 4 rules that we've issued into the marketplace with a staggered effective date. The first 3 rules have one effective date, the 15th of December 2025, whereas the last rule around the assembly and retention has an effective date of the 15th of December 2024 this year. Again, this is just to ensure that what is sitting in the standards as a recommendation is now coming forth as a requirement to ensure consistency in the marketplace around how the auditors are assembling and retaining the audit documentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ian. Now that we've established what the 4 rules are, is there a particular objective that the IRBA is trying to achieve with prescribing these 4 rules?
Yes, certainly. Taking on board that to begin with, that the ISSB in its own application material to the quality management standards gives the leeway or the path where the local regulator may issue laws, regulations, or relevant ethical requirements that complement or supplement the requirements that are sitting within the standards. We took it on board as the IRBA as well as the Committee for Auditing Standards, taking into account the IRBA's objective, which is to endeavor to protect the financial interests of South Africa, the public. In essence, what we then did is that after the ISSB's allowance in the application paragraphs to allow the local regulator, or in this instance local jurisdictions, to put forth laws, regulations, or relevant ethical requirements that supplement or complement the requirements that are sitting in the quality management standards, we have gone and taken on the objective that sits in the Auditing Profession Act around us effectively promoting the assurance performed by our audit regulators in protecting the financial interests. What we are also trying to achieve is the second goal is to promote and enhance audit quality, because these in essence are the aspects around who takes ultimate responsibility for the system of quality management, who may perform an engagement quality review, how long must the assembly and retention of audit documentation take. All of this promotes and enhances audit quality in the marketplace. So it ensures that our auditors are performing the best type of audits that they can perform in the marketplace. And then the last one is around that these particular rules, as well as together with the quality management standards, ensure that we are resulting in the promotion of restoring audit confidence in the marketplace. Right. So those are the 3 goals. One, the APA goal that's stated in the Auditing Profession Act. The second one around the promotion and enhancing audit quality. And last one, restoring confidence to the auditing profession.
Thank you so much, Ian. From what you've shared, we can see that these 4 rules are very essential in ensuring audit quality practices within our audit profession. Thank you so much for being here with me and sharing these insights.
100%. And thank you so much for having me.